What's up, everyone? Welcome back and welcome to the spoiler section of Deadpool and Wolverine review. Now, just quickly, as you can see, I am in my new apartment, my new space. This is going to be my new wAFFwORLD room. It's a total mess at the minute. There's loads of boxes and unpacking still left to do and shit I need to put in storage. But anyway, this is going to be the new room. I'll have it all decorated sometime soon. And yeah, it's a nice space. I've got my studio set up, got my camera, microphone. So I'm going to be getting a lot more YouTube videos back onto the channel. But let's get into the spoiler review of Deadpool and Wolverine. And just before I get into this, please, if you haven't watched Deadpool and Wolverine, please don't watch this yet, because I'm going to spoil so many things right now. And if I had had any of this spoiled before watching the film myself, I would have actually been gutted. Like, I would have been really gutted, because there's some really good cameos and really good moments in here because of these cameos and things I'm going to spoil, and I just don't want anyone to have it spoiled, because I would have been devastated. And thankfully I never seen any spoilers, so I was lucky. One of my best friends has seen pretty much every cameo and every spoiler that you can think of from the film, and he hasn't even seen it, and that's just from being on YouTube. So yeah, you've been warned, and if you watch this without seeing the film, then you're an idiot. So I'm not going to go through every single thing step by step as to how it happened, and probably won't be in the order, because my memory, I probably will be jumping around. And obviously if you've seen the film, like, you don't want to be reminded of what happened because you've already seen it. I'm just going to talk about the things that you're here for, which is the exciting things like the cameos and some of the main story points that happen and some of the scenes that are just really good. So basically, the opening sequence of this film is just so good, because everyone before this film came out and knew that Wolverine was back. It was kind of like, well, how though? He died. What are they going to do? Why is Wolverine coming back? Like, Logan ended perfect. Like, why bring Hugh Jackman back if we had the best ending for him, which we did? But again, straight away on the opening sequence, Deadpool's walking through this forest, and he's like talking about how he's on a mission to find Wolverine. And he starts talking about how the audience are wanting to make sure that Wolverine's legacy isn't destroyed. And as he's saying this, the camera sort of like comes to a point in this area, and the camera starts moving back, and you start to see that the actual location of where Deadpool is at the exact gravesite where Logan died at the end of the film Logan, with the cross above the X above his grave. The camera pulls back, and as it reveals that, like, we're at Logan's grave, Deadpool then says, well, you're wrong, because I'm going to completely destroy his legacy, or something stupid like this. And next minute, you just see Deadpool digging up Logan's grave. He eventually finds him and starts shouting and screaming for some reason. I was thinking, is he not there? Is he, like, somehow disappeared? But no, he's actually found him. It's just that he's found his corpse, and he's just like a skeleton. And it was such a funny moment, because I was thinking, what's happened? What's in this grave? Why is Deadpool screaming and going crazy and swearing and snapping the shovel and throwing it around and having this tantrum? And suddenly it changes to the next scene where Deadpool sat there outside the grave with Logan's aluminium. Well, it's not even aluminium. I can't remember what metal it is, but he's basically sat there with Logan's metallic skeleton, sat there just like, I think he's even got his arm around him or something, and he's sat talking to the skeleton. He's even moving his jaw up and down and pretending to do an Aussie accent, because obviously Hugh Jackman's an Aussie. He even calls the skeleton Hugh Jackman, or calls him Hugh. Like, it's so weird, like, how he, like, references the character Logan but by Hugh Jackman. It's strange. He does this quite a few times throughout the film, but it's really funny. Like, I couldn't believe that he was sat there with Logan's skeleton, and then all of a sudden all the TVA appear, and then Deadpool picks up Logan's skeleton, and he says another thing about how he's going to destroy Logan's, like, legacy or something, and he starts breaking off every single bone of Logan's skeleton. First of all, he breaks his rib cage off, like one of his ribs, and uses that as like a knife and jabs it through some guy's eye. Then he pulls out like his head, his skull on his spine, and uses that as like a weapon, swings it around and like kills some other guy with Logan's head on his spine. Then he breaks off like his his leg bones and just uses basically every single bone of Logan's body and starts killing like 20 different TVA officers. And it's just such a funny, sick moment. I thought it was a really cool way to open up the film. I loved how like it was like, don't worry, we're not going to destroy his legacy. Oh no, actually we are. We're going to destroy him massively. We're going to just literally break his bones off his body, off his skeleton, and use them as weapons. He even gets his blades, yeah, it's like, I don't even know what you call them, but Wolverine's like blades. He even gets them and attaches them to his hands. And then Deadpool starts killing people with Wolverine's blades, which was sick. I thought that was really cool. There's such a stupid moment as well where Deadpool shoves one of the blades through one of the TVA guy's asshole whilst he's on all fours, and then he shoves his other hand with the blades through another guy's dick, and then he's got both of them stuck on it and he can't get them off, and he's doing this like back and forth with these two guys, and it's just going in and out of their dicks and their assholes. It was like, it was ridiculous, like proper stupid but hilarious. It was really cool. This fight scene was mint, like the choreography, and Deadpool's he just looks sick. I love his fighting style. He's so slick. He's so good at everything that he does. But in between each fight move, he's like just doing the stupidest dancing to the Backstreet Boys Bye Bye. It's so stupid. It's exactly Deadpool. I loved it. I thought it was a great way to open up the film. Then we go into another section where Deadpool is basically set on a mission because the TVA kidnapped him from his timeline. So basically what's happened is, the way that they've done this, which I thought was really clever, was they made out that Deadpool, all the previous films were on a certain timeline, and it wasn't a sacred timeline, which is the MCU timeline. So the TVA kidnap Deadpool from his timeline, bring him into the TVA, but on the sacred timeline, and then they explain to him that Deadpool's universe, his timeline, is going to be destroyed, and there's only one way for him to resolve it, and that's if he goes and finds Logan, Wolverine, because Wolverine is an anchor being of their timeline, so he needs to go and find another Wolverine to bring him back to the sacred timeline, or to his timeline. It gets a little bit confusing, but either way, Deadpool has to go on a mission to find Wolverine, and then it goes into this whole montage. Even Deadpool looks at the camera, I think, and says, start the montage, and then you just start seeing all these different scenarios play out on all these different timelines where Deadpool is trying to find Logan, and we see loads of different versions and variants of Logan, and it's really cool. There's like Logan's in a casino at one point, and then Logan is like proper got his long Wolverine hair, and he's in like an alleyway, and he starts like murdering while trying to kill Deadpool. There's like loads of cool scenes, but the one moment that was like, no way as if, which is the first cameo, which is Deadpool is in like this warehouse, and you can see the back of Logan, and he's proper muscling. He's working on a motorbike or something, and as he approaches him, he makes a joke. Deadpool makes a joke about his muscles, and it turns around, and it's Henry Cavill as Wolverine, which I thought was sick because there was rumors that Henry Cavill was going to play Wolverine. That's not going to happen. Whoever plays Wolverine, God bless your soul, because I don't know how you're going to follow on from Hugh Jackman. That would be a tough task and character to take on. But anyway, we get to see Henry Cavill as Wolverine, and I thought this was really cool. That was the first cameo that we got. Then we even get the Hulk at some point. I think it's in this moment. We don't see much of him, but you do see a part of Hulk, which was cool to see. And we do get tons of different variants and versions of Wolverine played by Hugh Jackman. So this was a really cool way to open up the scene. I've just remembered now that there was a point where Deadpool goes into one timeline, and he goes to a bar, and Hugh Jackman sat there as Wolverine. He turns around, jumps off a seat, and he's like a really small, squash, like dwarf version of Wolverine. It was stupid. Anyway, so that's like the first cameo. It was really cool opening sequence with the breaking off his bones and then finding all these different variants of Wolverine, and obviously Henry Cavill. That was really cool. Eventually Deadpool finds the correct Wolverine, who's actually the worst Wolverine in the whole universe. In his universe, this Wolverine basically let all the X-Men die. They needed him when they was at they were all getting killed, and they needed Wolverine, and he turned away from him and let them all die, and he just turned to alcohol, and he's alcoholic. So Deadpool finds him. He's the worst one. He takes him back to the TVA, and the TVA guy, I can't remember his name, but he basically zaps both of Wolverine and Deadpool and send that thing where it dissolves them all, evaporates them, and sends them to the void. Sends Wolverine and Deadpool to the void, and then this is when we get our first fight scene with Wolverine and Deadpool, and that's the thing you've seen in the trailers where the 20th Century Fox logo is like buried in the sand. This was a sick fight scene. This is where we get that moment in the trailers, which I thought was so cool, where Deadpool flicks up the magazines for the gun in his pistols, and he catches them and like reloads them on his chest and turns around and starts shooting. Wolverine's so sick. I love stuff like that, like them little cool maneuvers. Deadpool's full of them all the way through this film. The choreography and the moves that both Wolverine and Deadpool have is sick. Deadpool's just, I love his fight style. It's so cool and slick, just the way he does everything. It's really, really well done. Anyway, this fight scene's sick. We get Wolverine doing the actual Wolverine, like running through the ground with his claws like an actual like beast. We get that, they're fighting each other, some really cool moments. Like, it's so gory, so violent. They're chopping each other up, stabbing each other non-stop. It's really entertaining. I loved it. Anyway, they managed to make amends somehow. They sort of stop fighting, and then they go off on their journey through the void to try and leave the void. They're trying to get out. On their way, they come across this person, and he's up in this, as I remember from my memories, on some sort of radio tower. Again, I'm probably skipping over stuff, and I will go back and forth. But we come across probably one of the biggest cameos. It definitely is one of the biggest, but it's not the biggest in my eyes at all. But anyway, we have this person who's on this radio tower. He jumps off and does a superhero land. Deadpool makes a comment about it, and you're like, oh, who is this? Straight away, I was like, this is going to be someone important. And then suddenly this hooded character, you can tell they're waiting to reveal who it is. I knew it was going to be someone big. Turns around, takes the hood off, and it's Chris Evans, who plays Captain America. So straight away, you're like, no way, they brought Captain America back, as if. But he looks different, like his hair's different. He doesn't look as big and muscly, and just, yeah, he doesn't look like Captain America, but he's still covered up. So you're like, it is Captain America, surely. And then Deadpool sort of makes this really funny like comment about how excited he is to hear, because Chris Evans playing this character at the moment that you think's Captain America is about to say a line, and Deadpool thinks it's going to be like Avengers Assemble or something along the lines of that. Something that Captain America would say. And then he takes his cloak off and reveals that he's actually one of the Fantastic Four. It's Johnny from the Fantastic Four, the Flame guy. I can't remember the actual superhero name, but Chris Evans played him back in the original Fantastic Four like 20 years ago or whatever it was. So he flies off in flames, starts using his flame power on another character called the Toad or something. I didn't know who this was, but I've seen someone else talk about it. It's another character. It's like the original character who played the Toad or something. Anyway, he's using his flame power. He fails, and he falls from the sky, smashes his face off the radio tower, falls back, smashes his spine, falls even further down, lands on his neck in like the most awkward, painful way. And then really, in a really funny way, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine and Deadpool sort of just go, we don't know that guy. It was just a funny moment between both of them, and it was just how they delivered it, and also like how Hugh Jackman delivered that as well. It was actually really funny. We do get a moment between Wolverine and Sabertooth, which we see in the trailers, but what we don't see in the trailers, which I'll spoil now, is obviously they run towards each other, Sabertooth and Wolverine. Wolverine just swipes Sabertooth right across the neck. Sabertooth is then like stood there like choking, and then all his blood appears through his beard. His head falls off, and then a really funny moment is that Deadpool picks his like decapitated head up and starts shouting, "This is the almighty Furiosa," or something so ridiculous. Obviously it's Mad Max reference, but in Wolverine, but it's Sabertooth's head. He's saying it's Furiosa. He even calls Wolverine like a woman or something. It was just like so many stupid things all at once. It was hilarious. I actually laughed out loud at this point. Just realised that I'm sweating my tits. It's so hot in here. I'm in my new apartment and I'm just absolutely fucking boiling. Anyway, back to it. Then this like Mad Max sort of situation happens. They definitely made it out to be like Mad Max, definitely. This big like caravan of vehicles come and they they take Deadpool, Wolverine and Johnny, Captain America, Chris Evans' character. They take them, they capture them, they take them to, which I thought was a really sick moment, really sick thing actually, a good idea. was a massive dead corpse of Ant-Man, but whilst in his like suit. It's huge, like, as he's a giant. So his hand is lying down. His hands are like the gate of the fortress. They open, and then his skull, like his helmet, opens up, and it reveals the Ant-Man's skull. So he's actually dead in there. It's a variant, I guess, of a dead Ant-Man. Thought this was a really cool design, really cool like way to make a fortress in this void area. Then these steps come down out of the jaw, and then the bald-headed female villain walks down the stairs. She reveals that she is Professor Xavier's from X-Men. She's his twin sister, and she tried to kill him whilst in the womb by choking him with her umbilical cord. I don't know if she did manage to kill him, or if she said she tried to. I don't know if it was a variant of them. It's quite difficult to follow exactly which is what variant, or if it's the right one, or there's so much of that going on in this film. It's kind of like, well, I don't know who's who. I missed whether she killed him or not in her timeline or whatever. Anyway, she's super powerful. I loved her powers. She really, really ridiculous moment, which I was like, whoa, that's mad, is Deadpool starts telling her that Johnny, Flame Fantastic Four guy, has been talking loads of shit about her behind her back. So she literally puts her hand out and sucks all of his skin off him in one go. She skins Johnny in a split second, and he's just left there as a skeleton with all his flesh and muscles, and blinks twice and just collapses into a pile of guts and bloody mess with bones and everything. I was like, that is actually proper good and really gory. I'm surprised Disney even allowed it. But obviously it's R-rated, but I just thought they might have held back, and they just didn't. Like, stuff like that, you're like, Jesus Christ. She does some really cool moves. She throws Wolverine into the ground. She moves him through the ground. She puts her hands into people's heads, fiddles about with her brains to get information out of them, but it's really like graphic, because she'll stick her fingers through like the eye sockets, through the nostrils. You even see like the face start like morphing around as the fingers are coming out of like the ears and the nose and the eyeballs. It's really well done. It looks sick. So yeah, she has some really cool moves. Eventually, they manage to get out of the situation. Wolverine and Deadpool managed to jump on the foot of the Hulk. What's his name? Hulkbuster. The Hulkbuster foot. The foot of the Hulkbuster is there, and like Wolverine smacks it to bring on the jets of it, and they both just fly off on the jets, whilst I think it's Galactus or something, the big smoky purple thing that's coming. That's the thing, I'm not really into that beast thing. It's just a little bit too far-fetched, even though it all is. But anyway, they manage to escape last minute, and then they go off on their journey. They eventually come across Dogpool, which I thought was really cool. This really little ugly dog, which I loved. He runs over to Deadpool. Deadpool loves him. And then we see Ryan Reynolds walking in from the distance to the camera, but without the mask on, dressed as Deadpool, but with long, nice, gorgeous hair, with no burns or anything, and he is actually Nicepool. It's another variant of Deadpool, but a really nice, friendly version that doesn't want any violence or crime, or he's just, it's so stupid. Anyway, Nicepool helps Wolverine and Deadpool by taking him to a Honda Civic or something. I can't remember what car it is, but they take him to, it's not a Honda Civic, but let's call it a Honda Civic. They take him to this Honda Civic, and Deadpool and Wolverine go off further into their journey, which then leads to this really sick moment where they have this amazing fight scene in a car. I absolutely love this. It was just such a good fight scene. I wish it was twice as long, but I was so happy with it anyway. I love fight scenes that are choreographed so well, especially when they're in confined areas and they have to use certain things like the seat belts and the car seat moving back and the doors, and just, you know, utilize everything they can within this tiny little space. And seeing Wolverine and Deadpool, just how violent Wolverine is and how like good Deadpool is at like getting out of situations with his guns and fighting. It was just so well done and so well choreographed. Like, I absolutely loved this scene. It was sick. Eventually they're fighting like all throughout the night and through to the next morning, and it shows them both absolutely just like zonked out in the car, knackered. Deadpool's wrapped up in all the seat belts whilst Wolverine's just lying there like asleep. Then we get, and now this is getting to the point that absolutely blew my mind, then we get to the point where this random stranger gets in the car and drives off and takes Wolverine and Deadpool into this underground layer, and then they eventually wake up, and then we have these massive cameos. Well, some of them are good cameos, some of them are massive, especially one of them, and you know exactly what I'm on about if you've seen it. So the first one who walks in is Jessica Garner. if that's the name, as I remember, replaying the role of Elektra, which she played like back in the day when Daredevil came out with Ben Affleck. So she arrives. I was like, no way, as if she's back as Elektra. That's sick. And then all of a sudden, second one walking in is none other than Wesley Snipes as Blade. Actually, Blade walking in. The OG Blade, Wesley Snipes, walks in. I couldn't believe it. I even sat up and gasped, and I even said out loud, Blade! I was just like, no way, because I fucking love Blade. It's like one of my favourite films, and like is my original introduction to superheroes and Marvel and all that shit, and I love Wesley Snipes, and I love him even more as Blade. So to see him back, knowing that we're not going to get Wesley Snipes as Blade again, was such a treat. And I was so like, I was just having the best time at this moment. And we don't just get a cameo of him and that's it. Like, he's in the film now for like a good portion. We get really good fight scenes with Blade, and I'll go into that in a moment. But then the third person who walks in is Channing Tatum as Gambit, which was really cool. I loved seeing it because I know that Channing Tatum was supposed to do a Gambit film and play Gambit, which never happened. So obviously they've brought him in, but the accent that he's got is so ridiculous. It's like a Jamaican, it's like a African or Jamaican, I don't know what it was. It was pretty much a Jamaican accent. It's so ridiculous. At first I was like, what? This is a bit weird. Surely he doesn't speak like that. They must have just purposely made him speak like that for the jokes, because some of the jokes that Deadpool has about his accent were hilarious. So it really worked in the end. At first I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, but then it actually was funny in the end. Actually really funny. And then fourth one is that we get X-23, which is the young girl from Logan, the little Wolverine girl. She's now grown up, and it is actually her from the film. It's not a variant, it's actually her. So that was really cool as well. And obviously we get some really nice moments then between Wolverine and her, sat by a campfire, and that Wolverine doesn't even recognize her, doesn't even know who she is, but she tells him, like, you were like, you know, you really helped me, you saved my life, and you gave me the opportunity to live my life. So it was a really nice moment. But anyway, we then get this big ensemble of like this sick cast: Deadpool, Wolverine, Blade, Gambit, Elektra, and X-23, and they all go down to fight Nova, who's the bald-headed twin of Xavier. There's a sick moment with Blade in the car. He gets a rocket launcher out and he shoots his rocket launcher, but he looks at the camera and he says, there is only one Blade. And then Deadpool looks out the camera and gives this like look that you can interpretate in, I fucking knows. How do you even say that word? Anyway, you could see that look in so many different ways. It could even mean, yeah, he's right, there is only one Blade. Or it could also be like, he doesn't know, there's another Blade on its way. So, I don't know, you could see it in different ways. But either way, I looked at it as like, yeah, he is the one and only Blade. He's just so sick. And I love the fact that he said it and that he was back. Then we get this massive fight scene between everyone. Blade, Elektra, all of them, they're all fighting, they all get their own moments. Even Blade's got his like boomerang daggers that he like throws around and it spins around and he catches it back just like he did in the opening scene in Blade, the original Blade. That was really cool. He even says a line, these motherfuckers are still trying to ice skate uphill. It's like, it just one-liners from the films that obviously we've seen with Blade. It was just sick. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It just blew my head off. I couldn't believe that I actually got a Blade. I see Wesley Snipes as Blade again. I thought I'd never see it, and the fact we got it just gives this film a whole other point. I love that. It was a hilarious moment because at this point Wolverine and Deadpool are trying to defeat Nova, but she's too powerful, so they have to get Juggernaut's helmet, which eventually they do. They stick it on her head, and she says the most outrageous line. I laughed my head off. Me and my friend were pissing ourselves. She says something about flicking a bean whilst listening to an Enya album. I was like, what? That is ridiculous. That came out of nowhere, but it was just perfect. Like, hilarious. I loved it. Anyway, she manages to let them go. She opens up a portal with the Doctor Strange thing. Wolverine and Deadpool jump out of there just in time. They land back in the streets. The TVA guys there at some point. He's speaking to them. Then Nova comes back through. She puts her fingers into the TVA guy's head and it's really weird. Like, she's messing around with his head. Her fingers are coming out of his nose. She even grabs him by his skull but through his own head at one point like this and drags him around the streets down to the subway where she's going to go and find this time machine portal thing that she's trying to destroy. Anyway, this whole moment is absolutely sick because the portal, the Doctor Strange portal is still open. Dogpool runs out. Then after that, Nicepool runs over. And then after that, 100 variants of different versions of Deadpool come out. Ladypool, Kidpool. There's even like a floating head pool. There's samurai pool. All these different types of pools that I'm sure from the comics, maybe they made a lot of them up. I don't know, but it's sick to see. They all look sick. They're all totally different. And then they have this massive long fight scene where Wolverine and Deadpool fight every single one of them, 100 of them. And it's sick. One shot, camera just panning all the way down. It even goes through a bus at one point. It's gory. There's blood. There's guts. There's body parts flying about. It is just absolutely sick. I loved it. And Wolverine pulls up his hood at one point. It was so cool. Like, I loved how they did this. Wolverine pulls up his hood to reveal the actual Wolverine helmet, and he looked badass. I really liked seeing this. It was so cool. Like, if you're a fan of Wolverine, then this was a moment. It was so sick to finally see it. They fight everyone. They jump out of this bus. In the end, they burst out of it. They land in this sort of superhero pose. It was a bit weird. Wolverine looked proper CGI. I'm sure it was CGI. It just didn't look right, but whatever. It was still a really cool moment. Then Deadpool and Wolverine. Then all of a sudden, all these Deadpools suddenly start resurrecting. I forgot to mention that Deadpool used Nicepool as like a shield to try and get his golden Desert Eagles, which he finally does, which is like a funny moment. The humor went on a little bit too much, and it was a bit stupid, but yeah, it's still quite funny. Anyway, suddenly a random character starts appearing dressed up as Deadpool, but he's fat. He's got a big belly on him, and everyone starts cheering because it's Peter, the guy from X-Force, the random guy with a mustache. It's so random. And then all of a sudden, all the other Deadpools are totally fine. They don't want to fight Deadpool anymore because now he has a Peter, and they all love a Peter, and supposedly every Deadpool has a Peter. So they were like, oh, it's all good. It's just so stupid. Anyway, it comes to the end of this now where Deadpool and Wolverine, they go down into this underground area where they have to go and destroy or do something with this time machine to stop Nova from destroying the timeline. It's a bit overcomplicated as to what exactly they're even doing, but anyway, they both go down, and there's a really nice moment which I got teary-eyed at this point, because it was a nice moment because Wolverine's going to save the day because he has no one in his life, where Deadpool's got a family to return to, and that's why Deadpool's even doing this, is because he wants to save his family and his loved ones, whereas Wolverine doesn't have anyone because he's basically let everyone die in his universe. And there's a really nice moment where Deadpool takes his mask off and says, "You will always be the best Wolverine." And I was like, oh, fucking hell, he will be as well. You're right. Stupid, but I was like, oh, yeah. This ends up getting turned around as Wolverine tries to go through the door. Deadpool then just jumps in front of him, closes the door, stops Wolverine from going ahead, and then Deadpool starts pulling out all these cables and wires, and you can see the timeline's literally about to be destroyed. It gets down to like 2%, and then all of a sudden Wolverine's managed to break the door through. He grabs hold of Deadpool's hand, sticks his blade into the other one, and both of them will start getting like all this like timeline electricity flying through them. It's a really cool moment, and also it was a beautiful moment because in this whole montage there's a really nice song from Madonna. I can't remember the song now, the name. I know it in my head, but there's a Madonna song. It's really nicely sung, and it's like just the vocals, and it starts showing you like these flashback montages of Deadpool and Wolverine's past through all the different movies and all the different nice moments that they've lived, and it was just a really beautiful moment. I loved it, and I was like, oh my god, oh, it means so much to me. It doesn't really. Fucking, I love it, but it doesn't mean that much. But at the moment, it really meant a lot to me. Yeah, I was definitely a little bit emotional at this point, and it was nice. It was nice to feel them feelings, and I loved it. Anyway, they save the day. This basically kills Nova. They save the timeline. Nova explodes, and this is the one thing I wish that didn't happen, because she was actually a really cool character, and she was so powerful that I would love to see her in future films. Now I'm sure they can bring her back though, because all this variant stuff and this multiverse bollocks, they can bring anyone back. But she was really good and really powerful, so I hope we do get to see her again. And that's basically the film. We do get an end credit scene, which is kind of, it's not that, it was funny, but it weren't that good. It's basically just showing the moment between Deadpool and Wolverine and Johnny, the Fantastic Four character, and showing that he did actually say all these curse words about Nova, and Deadpool managed to record it and film it in the TVA to sort of make a point. It was kind of funny, but it weren't anything that big. But yeah, that's basically everything, I think. I've covered everything. I might have missed a few cameos. Like I said, there's a Hulk in there. There's a few others that I definitely will have missed. But they're the main ones. They're the things that stood out to me. This video has been going on for 30 minutes. I've been recording for, so maybe I can chop it down so it's not so long. But there's just so much in this film to talk about. I've tried to get through that as fast as I could, and it's still 30 minutes. Fucking hell. Anyway, that's it. That's my spoiler review. I know I haven't really gone over every single little bit, but it's mainly the main details that you guys will want to hear from someone else's opinion, and I just loved it. This film was just great fan service. It was one of the films that really work with fan service, and I just was having such a good time watching it. It's so good. It's hilarious. The combat, the fighting, the action scenes, the gore, the violence, the swearing, the different characters, the cameos. It looks great. It's filmed great. The music is shot. So everything was just really, really well done, I thought. And yeah, I can't wait to see this film again. And like I said in my non-spoiler review, for me, I would rate this a 9 out of 10. That's it, guys. That's my spoiler review. Please let me know down in the comments now. This is the spoiler review. What did you think to the film? Did you enjoy it? What were your favorite parts? What were your favorite cameos? Did I miss any? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think, and if you enjoyed it or if you didn't, tell me everything. Let's have a chat about this film. And yeah, if you enjoy this, please drop me a like, and if you are new here, hit that subscribe. That would be amazing. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'm now going to take my hat off and fucking lie down because I'm boiling. But yeah, thanks again, guys. See you all in the next one.